whispering.
Oh, it's compensating for the whisper. Let's see what it's doing on its own. Okay, whatever. Oh, it's just going up. There you go.
Okay. Well,
Bada bing.
I am now I live amongst you mortals now, because when I read on my phone, I have to hold it out like this.
Let me get mine so I can see on my phone. Here we go. Now I can see.
Man,
We're getting old, fellas.
yeah, this is what
Dude,
I do. You ready? This is ready for me?
Okay, you're good now?
I'm good. I'm ready whenever y'all are. Actually, hold on. I will tell you when I'm ready. I am ready.
Just did.
In 3, 2, 1.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the UNT3 podcast. We're the podcast that brings you all music all the time. I'm your host, Brian Gerpers, here with co-hosts, these two guys right here. Man, they're excited. We got Mr. One Take, Christian Fisher, happening tonight. And this guy here, Nickelback is his favorite band of all time. He also likes Mariah Carey during Christmas. Man,
damn
this
straight.
Guy, Mr. Joel, our hero Cox.
Mm-hmm.
Man, we're coming in hot tonight because if you've been watching, we've spent the last several episodes picking a house on what we're going to get in. And today's episode, we're coming at you. And there's going to be heavy debate in this, I guarantee you. And these two guys are probably going to go round and round.
Nah.
That's a rat reference, by the way. But
Very nice.
Let me tell you something.
Are you going to take us out of the cellar?
Supergroup 2.0.
2.0.
Let me tell you,
hopefully we do it better this time, right?
We're not going to do it. Okay, so we're going to jump right into this, and we're not going to do this like last time. This is not going to be a super group that's going to take up several episodes. We're putting the entire band together tonight. So here's how this is going to work. All three of us have brought our own list. Each member of the band, drummer, bass, whatever, we brought 3 per member in the band, and we're going to go through them tonight.
Let's do it.
So here we go. Here's how this is going to work. We're going to start at drummer, and we're just going to work our way up to frontman like we did last time.
All right.
So the rules are we can't select a person for this band that was in our previous supergroup.
Peace out, Flea.
And then the only other one, the only other rule here is that if all 3 of us select or nominate the same person for that piece or for that member of the band, it's a clean sweep. They're automatically in.
Sweet. I don't.
That makes sense. That's it.
Sweet.
So,
hey.
Oh, and I'm gonna go last just in case there's a tie or there's something with you two guys. We'll let me go last just to kind of piss y'all off a little bit.
Whatever. Let's
deal. All right, so here we go. Without further ado, here we go. Drummers, Joel, who are your 3?
Okay, so before I start saying my list, I did it completely off of what I consider a rock band. That is what I chose to go with. So mine are going to be probably a little different than the rest of y'all's. I didn't do jazz. It's not the best musician. It's people that when I think of rock bands, these are the guys that I think of. And I did it based off of not just talent, but they can write, but also they just seem to be pretty cool guys. Like if you're an a-hole, I'm sorry, Yngwie Malmsteen, you don't make my list. But like for me, that was the criteria. The other thing is I broke one of the rules and I'm only bringing 2 for every category because
Because-
for some reason 3 was really hard for me, but I could come up with 2 pretty easy.
He had
What
a whole
that
week
means
to
is-
prepare and he waited
What
till
that
the
means
last
is he
minute.
had to put 2 per section down in the 10 minutes before we got on here.
That's not true, but
That's what
okay.
it is.
So here's my thing. Number 1, he is mentioned and he is not applicable, but he will always be my drummer, and that is John Bonham. Everybody says he's the best. Okay. So since
But
he was ixnayed because he was on our last one, he was our last drummer. So number 1, Mike Portnoy. For me, he loves bands. I know he has kind of been told as a prima donna, but he seems to love bands. Anytime someone's sick, he puts tribute bands together to raise money. He loves rock music. He just seems like he's a really cool guy. Plus the fact that he is an amazing drummer, such a great drummer. So Mike Portnoy is my number 1. My second one, and I may get slammed for this, Alex Van Halen. I love Alex Van Halen.
Why would you get slammed for that? He's a good drummer.
He's a great drummer. When you think of 70s and 80s and early 90s rock and roll, he was one of the go-to guys. I watched the thing on his drum kit. It's actually something that Fisher, one of his channels, he pointed out that led me to this. It was his drum kit. It explained his evolution in drums. Fascinating. I learned so much about Alex Van Halen, but those are the 2 that I'm bringing. Again, John Bonham will always be in my heart, the drummer, but for this criteria,
just 2. I keep forgetting.
Mike Portnoy and John Bonham.
All
so
right.
wait, so really you just brought 1?
No, John. I mean, sorry. Mike Portnoy and Alex Van Halen. Sorry.
Okay.
Alex.
There
Van
it
Halen.
is.
Alex
I'm
Van
keeping a
Halen.
list running so I know what who. Yeah. All right. So Fisher, what do you got?
Okay. So I followed the rules and I'm bringing 3. And one of the things I love about doing this little exercise is you just mentioned 2 drummers. I was like, shit, why weren't they on my list?
Yep.
So here we go. My first one, and I'm really only including him. No, I shouldn't say that because he's a great drummer in his own right. But if I didn't bring him up, there are 2 fans of ours out there, one who is a drummer, and one who just likes to give us shit all the time. If I didn't bring this guy up, if I didn't mention him, I would get shot. So my first drummer is Danny Carey from Tool.
Brilliant.
What about someone who is smart, he's a good songwriter. Because he's just as much a part of the songwriting process as the other 3 guys.
Yeah.
And he's right there with Portnoy and Peart. And
yeah,
like when I think drummers that are unbelievably skilled, it's those 3. And then is his name Carter Buford?
Yep.
The drummer
from Dave Matthews.
Dave Matthews.
Yeah.
Those 4, like, you can't go wrong with those guys. Just the things that they do, like they're very inventive behind the kit.
Yeah.
So Danny Carey's my first one. My second one, I think he is the most underrated drummer of the 90s.
Ooh.
And you want to talk about someone who's very musical behind the kit, and when he plays to serve the song. His front man even says so. Like, he compares him to Lars Ulrich. Like, Lars, you play to what fits the song or suits the song, and so does this guy. And I remember when we did this last time, I kicked myself the whole time going, I can't believe I didn't put him on my list. And this guy is Jimmy Chamberlain from Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah, great player.
He's so good.
A little busy, but great player.
Well, all those 4 guys I just mentioned, one of yours, little busy.
Exactly. No.
But they're okay. To address that real quick, there are drummers who are busy because they think that's what is the mark of a good drummer, and like, oh, look at all these things that I can do. And then there are guys like the 5 that I just mentioned real quick, but like Jimmy, who they're busy, yes, but it's within the context of the song. And you can at least go, okay, that was an interesting choice. I see why he did that.
Yeah.
And then finally, whether he was alive or not, he would be on my list because I think he is currently the standard for the perfect rock drummer, and that's Taylor Hawkins.
That's good.
So
that's good.
There are my list of drummers: Taylor Hawkins, Jimmy Chamberlain, and Danny Carey.
And a good guy, man.
Yeah.
No one has a negative thing to say about Taylor Hawkins.
No, they're I mean, you take it for what it's worth. I saw an interview with Machine Gun Kelly, who they opened up for the Foo Fighters a couple of shows before Taylor passed away.
Yeah.
And he and the whole band were like, every night that we were on stage, he was standing right there watching us. We came off stage, he was there to congratulate us for a good show. And like I remember when he passed away and looking on Instagram, all the tributes, they were all basically the same thing. Sweetest guy, never met a stranger. He's your best friend, right? That kind of guy.
Super encouraging, would send gifts. I mean,
yeah. And a phenomenal drummer.
Phenomenal. Correct.
And just real quick, one more thing about Taylor. I think he's really the only person that could ever play drums in the Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
Especially with the guy he's got standing in front of him, who is arguably the greatest rock drummer of all time.
Or at least of our generation.
Right.
Well, and he'll even tell you that, I mean, if you watch the documentary, he kicked out other drummers because they just couldn't handle it. And, you know, when you have the ability to completely hand off your baby to somebody and know that they're going to take care of it with those songs, that's what's like. That's I mean, that had to be pretty crazy at a certain point. Like, do you just realize that you have the gig and you don't have to worry about it? Or is that always in the back of your mind?
Right.
Great choices, man. Great choice. I actually had thought about all of those, including Dave Grohl. So that's good. I like it. Okay, Ryan, what do you got?
This is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. Okay. I don't have commentary to go along with my 3. I'm going to name my 3 and I'm going to let y'all be like, oh, really? Okay.
Let's do it.
Number
Sheila
1,
E.
in no particular order. Here we go.
Sheila E.
Neil Peart, Rush's drummer.
Yep.
Okay.
Here we go. Number 2, Danny Carey from Tool.
Okay.
Number 3, Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater. So we find ourselves in a very interesting situation here, because you and I have one together.
Mm-hmm.
You and I have one together. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, the only way to make it a clean sweep is if Joel were to add Danny Carey in his 3rd spot. But it's interesting. Like for me, so when I was putting my list together, I listened to some Dream Theater. I listened to some Tool. I listened to Rush. For these 3 guys, it's kind of like, what mood am I in?
Yeah.
And you're like kind of what really on who I would be like, this guy.
But here's the thing with your list that I think they're all progressive drummers, right? They're all drummers in progressive bands, whether it's just straight progressive rock, or metal. Like Danny, I don't even know if you could consider Tool metal.
They're just Tool, which is what I said last time we talked about this. The only reason I don't add him to me, he is arguably, and I agree, one of the greatest drummers. But he's also, like, when I think of him, it's hard for me to separate him from Tool. Like, at least some of the other guys and again, I guess you could say that about anybody like Neil being away from Rush.
Right.
But like that's one of the things I liked about Portnoy. He plays straight rock with some bands. He plays Dream Theater. He plays all this progressive music. He not that the other guys can't, but this guy's done that. That's why I picked him.
I got you. Right. Well, I know what his two people are going to say. Right. I know what they're going to say, but man, for me, it's tough. Golly, I don't know. Well,
I mean, it's between the two. So, I mean, really, do we go the Tool route or do we go, the
Dream Theater route?
Yeah, Mike Portnoy. Yeah, like that's what I said. That's what I like about Mike is that, and I'm not saying anything about the personality of Danny. I just think
we could make the right choice and put Taylor in.
Well, I don't know. We should do that either. I'll be honest with you. I would be okay with putting Taylor Hawkins in, but that would be, for me, that would be a kind of leaning on the emotional side, but I would put Taylor in. That would not upset me at all. I would, and this is probably going to get me in trouble. I'd rather have Taylor. If Mike's not in it, I'd rather have Taylor than Danny.
Well, then let's do Taylor.
It's up to you, Gurfers.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Just for the sake of, let's do it.
Taylor Hawkins. All right.
So Taylor. So let me on my little list here, I'm gonna highlight him with a color. That way, So Taylor Hawkins is gonna be our drummer. But hey, you know what? It is what it is. All right.
I'm excited about this next one.
All right, good. So Christian, you go first on bass.
All right, on bass. I don't remember if I brought him up last time. Probably not, because I brought up Cliff the last time. So my first bass player, and yes, I'll probably do this every list that we do, is Jason Newstead.
Oh, great. Love Jason
Newstead. I might not do it with Robert. I mean, even though Robert is the longest serving bass player in the band.
Really? That's crazy to think, huh?
And that Jason was in 14 years, and I think Rob will be in 20, and I think he came in the band in 2003.
That is crazy, 20 years man. That is insane.
So Jason Newstead. And the thing I like about Jason is, yes, he can do the metal thing, but if you see like what he's doing now with his Chop House band, like they play all kinds of stuff. And then you heard the record that he put out, or I'm assuming at least you, Joel, heard the Echo Brain album.
Yeah.
It was nothing like
it was pop.
It was pop. Yeah, it was nothing
super
like
pop.
Like a Metallica album.
Yeah.
So he's versatile. He can play. His influences, and
he's a cool guy.
He's a very cool guy. And so that's my first one. My next one, I felt I should bring him up because he's Flea but better.
Oh,
and
yikes.
Well, Joel, when you hear, you might disagree, you might agree.
Okay,
but it's Peanut from 311.
Oh, such a great player.
Yeah. Peanut spelled like the actual like peanut.
P-nut. P-nut.
P-nut.
Yeah, so P, a dash sign,
a hyphen,
or a hyphen.
Yeah. Okay. I encourage anybody to, especially on those first few, the first like 2 or 3 311 albums, the stuff that he plays on those songs, I did that because I should have brought him up last time.
Yeah.
And then another player that I should have brought up last time, and I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, but it's the bass player from Muse, Chris Wolstenholme.
Great player.
So those
great
are my
player. All you have to do is go watch the studio stuff of him playing with Stockholm Syndrome. I mean, just phenomenal bass player. Great.
So I missed. Did you make your third one?
Yeah.
Who was it?
Chris Wolstenholme. Wolstenholme. He's the bass player from Muse.
Got it.
Okay, well, my choices we can solely blame Ryan for these choices because as soon as I say the names, you're going to know exactly why it's his fault.
Oh, awesome.
Hang on.
For me, like Led Zeppelin will always be the core of any band, but I'm not using any of them for this list other than my honorable mention, John Bonham. Okay, first bass player. I love this guy. Again,
So no John Paul Jones.
no John Paul Jones. Writes songs, cool guy, versatile. I love his playing. It's inventive. It's different. And that is Jeff Ament from Pearl Jam.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
I don't know. I was listening to Versus the other day and then also I watched one of the Rick Beato videos where he did a Jeff Ament, some bass stuff. And I
will say his tone and what he plays on the song Oceans.
Yeah.
Off their first album.
Yeah. It's a fretless bass.
That will always be next to a couple of Cliff Burton riffs.
Yeah.
That will always be my favorite bass line.
Yeah.
I don't it's more of a nostalgia thing, emotional side type thing, but yeah, I love that bass line.
Great bass, 12-string bass. Just everything. So good. Okay. My next one is Robert DeLeo from Stone Temple Pilots.
Oh, such a good choice.
Yes.
Oh, man.
He writes. I think he's underrated. I think
he's very underrated, and I think that's on purpose.
But if you listen to like some of the stuff that he writes, I mean, he is, in my opinion, the Neil Peart of bass, in the sense that when you listen you hear it play, but then when you actually try to transcribe what he's doing, you realize how complicated it is. And to be able to do that in a rock context is that's just hard to do. So those are my two.
Rock bass. You're only bringing two. I'm
only bringing two.
Okay, man. So this is going to be interesting. Our lists all look very different. Okay. So again, I'm not going to have commentary. Just going to go with it. So my number, no order. So Paul McCartney from the Beatles. Yes. You got to throw him in there.
Yep.
This one, y'all understand why when I say this one. Chris Squire from Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like that guy. And
he's all right.
And then Geddy Lee from Rush.
Yep. And Chris and Geddy are very similar as far as bass players.
Well, Chris was one of Geddy's idols. So
yeah. Well, and then of course when Chris died, Geddy filled in for him at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yep.
So I actually thought about Paul McCartney. It's hard to leave him off the list, but like I said, I see the Beatles as who they are. I don't see them as what I would consider a rock band. But that's why I left Paul McCartney off the list.
Yeah, but like if you watch Dave Grohl's documentary, Sound City.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's amazing.
Comes in and is like, hey, I've got this bass that I made out of a cigar box. Let's see how it sounds and write a song with it.
Yeah.
Right.
And the song is killer.
He'll play with anybody. I think that's key. Although we had him on the list last time and he didn't make it. So
yeah.
All right. So who we put in there are no commonalities. So
there's none. There are no. So that's why this one's hard.
And so I have Gerfer's list, but yours was Jason Newstead. Who were the other two?
Peanut
from 311 and the guy from Muse.
Oh yeah. That's a good one too, man. What's funny is I actually thought about Jason Newstead when I was originally doing this. But I just see him, even with Echo Brain, I just see him with Metallica. So I don't know, guys. How do we divvy this out if we don't agree?
Well, we have to come to an agreement.
Okay, so yours was
Mine is Robert DeLeo
Chris-
from Stone Temple
Robert
Pilots and Jeff
DeLeo.
Ament.
Jeff Ament,
Yeah.
and then Paul McCartney,
Chris Squire and
Chris
Geddy
Squire,
Lee.
and Geddy Lee, and then Peanut. My personal vote goes to the guy from Muse.
That would
That's
be a
just
real
me.
unsung hero kind of. I mean, any of these guys would be awesome.
Right. Oh yeah.
See, I don't know a whole lot of Muse stuff.
Yeah.
I know
Well,
Pearl Jam, SDP, Metallica, 311. I
Stop
know all that
sharing
stuff.
your sound.
Oh, are you going to? Oh, are you
Oh,
gonna?
why you want to play Muse?
I'll play just the beginning, and you'll
You
You're like,
playing
"Oh, yeah."
Stockholm Syndrome?
see.
Okay. Okay, here he goes.
Maybe.
We're getting ready to be blocked, guys.
Oh yeah. Always. This guy.
This was what he did on Rick Beato.
I'm pretty sure this used to be on Rock Band.
It was.
I think it was.
Well, here we'll play the.
Or
other
you can
one.
always put the Tool bass player in there on Joel's third spot.
Justin Chancellor. Hey, he's a great bass player. In
No.
order to be in that rhythm section,
Yeah, but we got to stick with the group that we brought. So we either need to relent to Fisher's side, or we need to debate. I mean, my guys are tried and true. People know their names. They know their songs outside of Rock Band.
we know Geddy Lee.
Yeah, but I just, for me, it's hard to put Geddy Lee. It's like putting Neil in the band. It's just, I love those guys, but I just can't do it. That's, for me, Rush is an
Wait.
institution. You know, Chris
So-
Squires is great too.
So what are you're saying that Rush they're too big and too good to put them in?
He's saying like the same reason why we don't put a Paul McCartney or a John Lennon in the band, because you're not.
It's hard to
Like-
separate them. Like when I'm thinking of this, I'm thinking if this band really got together, what is the most cohesive, band members that would be together? And that's why I'm thinking like Taylor Hawkins. I'm thinking, okay, here's the rhythm section. What is the best bass player that's going to play with Taylor Hawkins? And for me, I can see the guy from Muse. I can see my two guys. I'd see that working. So I wouldn't necessarily do Peanut. I love Peanut. He's phenomenal. For this type of group, I just don't see it.
We had this type of group last time, and we put Flea in, and they're
I
basically
know.
the same
And
player.
it was reluctantly done. That's why I'm trying to correct old. I'm trying to prevent
You're trying to make
further-
the right decision.
a better decision. So I'm fine with the guy from Muse, but that's, like I said, that's kind of an underdog.
What do you think? What do you think, Ryan? Who are you like?
I mean,
Of all of the people that have been named, including yours, who are you most inclined to be like, this is, if I have to put my foot down on somebody, it's this
I
person.
mean, for me, it's for
gonna be
me, it's just,
Squire.
no, it wouldn't be Squire. It would be McCartney, just because one,
Oh,
everybody
okay.
knows who he is. But dude, I think McCartney could. I think he's versatile enough to play with any of those drummers we put up there. You throw McCartney in there, and he's going to adapt to what he's got to do to play with any of the drummers.
I'm fine with that too. I love Paul. It's
Paul
hard.
is just not going to make a decision, is he? I mean, I'm good with any of them.
Well, these are all great players. Okay, so here's, I'm not cool with Newstead. I'm not cool with Squires or Geddy Lee. I'm fine with the guy from, of course, my options, but I'm also fine. I don't think Peanut should be in this group. So of your group, Fisher, I think the bass player from Muse is the best one for the supergroup. And I think from Gerfer's group, I think Paul McCartney is the best one for this type of
Then let's
group.
do DeLeo.
Okay, I'm fine with that too. DeLeo is great, man.
Well, because unfortunately, in a band, whether it's a super group or not, someone's got to be the. Oh yeah, that guy's in the band. I forgot about him. And who better than DeLeo?
Okay, let's do it.
I mean, I was going to digress and say we could do the guy from Muse.
No,
Okay.
let's do DeLeo. Let's do Robert. I
DeLeo.
think that's the best one.
DeLeo.
He writes, he can play, he can background vocal. Great bass player.
All right. So
Done.
Robert DeLeo from Stone Temple Pilots.
Already
bass
better than Flea.
player. Taylor Hawkins from Foo Fighters. Okay, now we'll get to the fun stuff. Not that wasn't fun.
We're gonna
Okay.
do rhythm or lead?
We're going rhythm guitar.
All right.
Joel, the guitar player.
I think Joel should go first on. Well,
I was going to say, I think Joel should go first on the guitar pieces.
both of them.
Yeah, just because he's got two, we can get him out of the way real quick.
Okay. So rhythm guitar player. This I specifically put kind of underdogs. Now, when I say this, y'all will both agree. I feel like you'll agree with rhythm guitar players. My first one is Brad Whitford, Aerosmith's guitar player. He lets Joe Perry have all the accolades. He just sits back. He does his rhythm thing, whatever's needed, diamonds, funk rhythms, whatever. He doesn't really solo. And he doesn't complain. He's just doing his thing. So I love that. Perfect rhythm player. This one is a little more outside the box. This guy can play lead, but the riffs that he puts together for me are just ridiculous. And that is Tom Morello. From a rhythm standpoint, I just think Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine, you put in like Cochise the Man with him playing the riffs.
That's an Audio Slave song.
That is Audio Slave, but still it's Tom Morello on guitar. So
But
as
you
far
said
as
Rage
rhythm
Against the
guys,
Machine.
huh?
You said Rage Against the Machine.
I know. Well, he's from Rage Against the Machine.
I know.
Yes.
So Killing
Audio
in the Name
Slave
of
is the other one. Yes. I
Fistful
get
of
it.
Steel.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, those are my two that I have.
Okay.
Really?
All right,
Okay.
Fisher.
All right. Well, I thought for sure one, if not two, of the ones that I'm about to mention would have been on your list, Joel.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with the one that I thought, well, I wouldn't think would be on your list. And he's the only guitar player in his band, so he does both rhythm and lead,
Yeah, like Morello.
like Morello. But like when I listen to his songs, his solos, unless it's a faster tempo song, his solos really aren't super flashy. And that's Jerry Cantrell, Allison.
Oh, great.
Cool guy,
Great.
great songwriter,
Singer.
solid player, and he can sing.
Yeah.
So he ticks all the boxes.
That is phenomenal. Take a shot, Anna.
Well, I might get you to say it again, so hold on. This next guy,
And it fits in with the houses we talked previously. So, yeah.
this guy, I don't think. How do I want to put this? Because for Joel, I'll give it away if I say, "Oh, what the hell." I don't think without this guy, there's no Guns N' Roses,
Oh,
and that's Izzy Stradlin.
amazing. Awesome. Yes. And is able to put up with Axl Rose.
Put up with Axl Rose for almost 2 albums worth.
Yeah.
Oh, he did, and he quit midway through. I think it was midway through Use Your Illusion tour.
I think he got through it and he just didn't like the touring life. There you go.
Right.
Good stuff.
So, and then my last rhythm guitar player is the rhythm guitar players of all rhythm guitar players. Guys like James Hetfield, and Ian. I'm drawing a blank on his last name from Anthrax.
Oh yeah, Scott Ian. Yeah.
Scott Ian. They all point to those two guys specifically, and really Scott Ian points to him as he's my favorite rhythm guitar player, and that's Malcolm Young from AC/DC. I told you, they're all coming from my list.
I don't know if I don't. Maybe, but that is a phenomenal list of guitar rhythm players.
All right, so those are my rhythm guitar players.
All right, so this is going to be fun. No joke. I almost thought, anyway, I'll tell you in a second. Okay, first one on mine. Fisher and I are together on this. I've got Izzy Stradlin, Guns N' Roses.
Great.
Second one on my list, I've got Jerry Cantrell.
Yeah.
And I thought for a second, the way you were talking, I thought we were going to go for a clean sweep of 3, and we didn't. But I almost had Malcolm Young.
Yeah.
Almost. But instead, when I was doing my research, right?
Your minutes of preparation.
This guy kept popping up like in the top 5 of a whole bunch of different lists and stuff. And that is Dave Mustaine from Megadeth. And so
I am so proud of you boys.
Well,
y'all can't see it, but I am totally emotionally erect right now.
You B word could have a clean sweep with us if you want to come with 3 artists.
Okay, so I'm gonna make this super easy on you guys. After hearing your list, for me, I'm going Jerry Cantrell.
Okay,
that's a great with the bass player that we have, the drummer we have, Jerry Cantrell.
Okay, so here's the question.
I am tearing up right now.
Okay, but here's the question. This is very important to how this band is being put together. Are you taking the Gary Cantrell off of Christian's list or off of my list?
Well, because you're leading, since you're leading this, I will say yes. I will tell you this.
You'll say yes to what? Which list?
To you.
Thank you. Okay, good.
But this is the one.
Have a member.
Okay, so this is the one thing I will tell you. Gurfers, you surprised me because your list was spot on. That was a great group of rhythm guitar players. Dave Mustaine.
Hello.
Well, no. Well, I expect excellence from you. The Padawan down there, I always kind of disagree with 1 or 2, but there's literally nobody on his list that I disagree with.
You know what I like about Dave? And maybe he'll make our band from the other list, but he does both. He does rhythm and he does lead.
Yeah.
I mean, Jerry does the same. Jerry does rhythm and lead, but Dave, I mean, I don't know. You don't get, especially as tight and technical as he is, like everything is just spot on. You don't get much better than him, if any.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The only reason that I would want to go with either Jerry or Izzy is I think they're a little more down the middle, so to speak. Like they can do the hard, they can do hard rock, they can do the softer side, they can play fast if they need to, right? With Dave, it's 1,000 miles an hour, you know.
Yeah. 100%. I feel much better about, like I said, I'm going rock, and I think so far we're doing well. So would you like me to do the lead guitar players now?
Yeah, we'll get into that in 1 second.
Okay.
But I think it's interesting because in our last supergroup, and I'm not saying these guys are replacing the last one, but it's interesting how we went from James from Metallica as our rhythm guitar player to Cantrell. I just think it's cool. I don't know.
Well, I did James. Well, I did James because Fisher needed a win. And he was still recovering from the Flea debacle.
The greatest bass player that we will ever have.
Okay, first off, stop it. That's not true.
You picked him.
I picked him out of pity, but anyway, let's continue with the
All right,
lead guitar
let's
spot.
go to lead guitar. And just for the record, this one for me was the hardest 3 to pick.
Yeah. I will say this is the only category that will have 3 lead guitar players. And I will tell you that this is not a fair category because every guitar player has their voice, and that's super hard for me. But
I'm going to say this. I'm going to put the call in. I think maybe we might have our first sweep here.
I will guarantee you will not have your first sweep.
All right, let's find out.
I mean, did you think I was going to put Dave Mustaine in the rhythm?
No,
you don't
but
know I got on mine, bro.
Actually, there is one possibility that you and I may match on.
Okay, well, let's hear it.
Go. Come on.
Downset Hut.
And I'm going to leave that one last. Number 1, my main influence that I had growing up, the first guitar player I heard that I said, holy cow, changed everything that I did. And I tried to name my daughter after this person and was shot down, but I got close with an I in the middle name, and that is Jimmy Page. Jimmy Page, love the guy.
Close.
Huh?
I got the other Jimmy.
Okay, you got the Hendrix.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna save the one that I think we may match last. Okay, the next guy, and I know I'll get an amen from Fisher on this. This guy's playing, his speed, he changed the way guitar playing was done, and I love him in Megadeth. And I love him in the K-pop stuff he's doing right now.
Yeah, Marty Friedman.
And that is Marty Friedman. Marty Friedman is one of my all-time favorite. He is just such
a true, like when I think of who's the lead guitar player from Megadeth.
Yeah,
it's Marty. I mean,
for me, it's him and Chris Poland.
But I think Chris Poland was only on one album.
Yeah, but he was on. Yeah, I mean, he was on what led into Rust in Peace, and then Countdown to Extinction, and then wait, is that the name of the album? Countdown to
Extinction.
Okay,
yeah.
I was just make sure.
That's the one that's Marty's on.
Yeah, it really blew up when Marty was Countdown to Extinction. So those two guys I have. Okay, this is the third one. Here we go. Sinister Gates. I love his playing from Avenged Sevenfold. He is
Sinister Gates. Nice.
Sinister Gates. I just seems like such a cool guy, but his playing is phenomenal. I could have picked 1,000 guitar players, but for this type of group,
he went like almost straight metal.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Well, and I left off the obvious one, like Eddie Van Halen, because again, it goes back to the whole, like Alex Van Halen, I feel like could fit into any rock band, but Eddie just sounds like Eddie. You watch the SNL thing where he's playing with G.E. Smith. And I'm sorry, man. It just sounds like Eddie Van Halen. So like, that's why I left him off the list. Jimi Hendrix, the same thing, but that's my 3 guitar players.
All right. So like I said, I got the other Jimmy from that time period,
Mr. Hendrix.
Because of, you want to talk about changing the way countless number of players out there saw, interpreted, whatever you want to say, the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jimi Hendrix was the first one. Like
100%.
Here's what we're gonna do, right? And everybody just, what? How does he do that? You know, all of the playing with his teeth and behind his head.
Yeah.
Right. Like, right on.
Singer, showman,
mm-hmm.
shaman. I mean, he's just a brilliant player.
Okay, so my edit that I made on the fly at the beginning of the show, what I don't really think of Dream Theater a lot because they're not. I have to be in a very specific mood to want to listen to Dream Theater, but when I do, John Petrucci is just like, I'll sit there and I'll rewind his solos like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah,
listen to that over and over again, and So, all right, my final one plays in the same band as one of your bass players, Joel, and I'm going to bring this guy up every time we do this until he makes the supergroup. And it's Mike McCready.
Oh, I love him. He's such a great player.
Mm-hmm. So those are my three: Jimi Hendrix, John Petrucci, and Mike McCready.
Okay, give me a second. I'm making a list so we have everything going here.
He's like Santa. He's making a list and
And
gonna
checking
check
it twice. Okay, well, I'm only going to get one.
So we didn't get a clean sweep.
We didn't get a clean sweep. That's okay.
Did we come close?
Fisher and I, man, we're matching up on a few.
Simpatico, baby.
So I'm just saying. So, okay. Eddie Van Halen was my first one.
Okay.
Just, it is what it is.
Yeah. Great.
Jimi Hendrix. That's where we matched up.
Okay.
And then this guy, he was mentioned the last time we did this. I'm putting Slash from Guns N' Roses in there.
He's a great lead player.
And so, I mean, yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know. Okay, so your three were Sinister Gates,
Marty Friedman,
Marty
and
Friedman.
Jimmy Page.
Jimmy Page. All right.
I don't expect of the actual ones to make my list. The only one that I think really would make it is Sinister Gates.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, just with this type of
because I would be more inclined to go either Marty Friedman or Page.
or Page, yeah.
Especially with this band so far. Taylor on drums, Robert DeLeo
On bass.
And who's our rhythm?
Jerry Cantrell.
Jerry Cantrell. I mean, if we had guys like Dave Mustaine as our rhythm guitar player, and if we had a metal drummer, I could see putting Sinister as the lead. But I've not heard Sinister do anything other than
Avenged Sevenfold. Yeah.
Right. Like with guys like James or even Kirk, like there are videos of them out there playing blues, funk, so, stuff like that. Or Jimmy Page. Jimmy Page is like he's a down the middle type.
Yeah,
guy,
well, Black
right?
Crows. I mean, you just listen to that live album. I mean, he was killer on it.
Right. I don't know. I really don't have a strong opinion when it comes to lead guitar player, really.
You had Hendrix. Who else did you have on your list?
I had Hendrix, I had Mike McCready, and John Petrucci.
And John Petrucci.
Woo. But again, I've not heard him do anything other than Dream Theater. And as talented as he is, I'm sure he could play other styles of music.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I know this,
but he's a one note kind of guy.
Yeah.
If he's in the band, all he's gonna do is play lead guitar.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a songwriter, right?
Yeah.
But he's not gonna sing.
You talk about
right?
Petrucci?
Petrucci, yeah. He's not gonna sing. He's not gonna. I mean, he'll play rhythm guitar because that's most of the song. But when you bring a John Petrucci in, there's only one reason you're bringing him in.
Yeah, to wow, and that's the same thing with
Face Off.
Yeah, right? Some of the other guys.
And Slash too. When you bring Slash into the band, you're bringing him in for one reason and one reason only, and that's to play lead guitar.
And this may be like an emotional pick, but I'm leaning towards Slash.
Well, that's I mean, if you think about it, though, like you talk about, you bring a Slash in, you know what you're bringing him in. You're only bringing him in to play lead guitar, which is fine. Because if you're looking for background vocals or somebody to give something vocally, you've got that in Cantrell.
You've also got it in DeLeo, and you've got it in Taylor Hawkins. But not that every guy in the band has to sing either backup or lead vocal, but each guy's going to have a different tone to their voice, a different way to sing. And so the more options, at least in my mind, if we're putting together a super group, the more options I have for someone to deliver a melody or to sing a vocal line, the better, right? Because I don't really know anything about the songwriting process, but I would imagine at least once or twice in your songwriting career, you come in a band, you're writing a song and you're like, our guy can't sing this.
Oh
So
yeah,
we
no,
gotta-
100%.
we got to scrap it. And so, you know, the more guys who can sing, I think it opens up to more things that you can write and more things that you can put out there.
So who?
So that's why I wouldn't do a Slash or a Sinister Gates.
Okay, so who?
If I really am.
I mean, all of my guys are players. They're all
right. Yours is Page,
Page,
Sinister Gates,
Marty Friedman, and
Marty Friedman.
Yeah.
From your list, I would want to go Page.
Okay.
Ah, man. Who's your list, Ryan?
It's Van Halen, Slash, and Hendrix.
Well, Fisher Fitz are screaming at the screen right now, going, Hendrix has got 2 votes. You got to put Hendrix.
Well, the thing I'm thinking of is like, for me, out of everybody that's been mentioned off of every list, for me, it comes down to either Hendrix or Jimmy Page. Those are the two it comes down to.
I can see that.
The only reason Mike McCready, like I like the Mike McCready pick. The only reason I don't want to lean towards McCready is,
well, he's the same thing as,
well, if we pick, but if we pick him though,
Gates,
this is turning into a 90s supergroup.
Well, that wasn't one of the parameters. You didn't say.
I'm just saying, no, but I'm just saying it's turning into an all 90s supergroup. And it's like, is that what we're doing? Do we need to edit the title of the show to 90s supergroup?
I don't know. I agree with you. I think it really falls between Hendrix and Page, and Hendrix is the closest thing we got to a clean sweep in this category.
So I mean, I'm not upset with Hendrix, so let's just add him to the list.
There it is.
All right, Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah,
Fisher is happy.
The interesting thing about this whole thing is when you're putting this list together, one of the things that's hard to navigate is when you pick the first piece and you add the second piece, you're sonically listening at least I am in my head, like, okay, yes, we have this drummer and the bass player. Now what guitar player, like it's a layer. And so we could have a completely different list if we pick 2 different, like a drummer and a bass player that's different. This isn't about the best. It's about what supergroup would sound in my mind, cohesively the best. And that's why, like, you know, it's difficult. You get into, like, I don't want Chris Squire playing with Jerry Cantrell. I just don't. It just doesn't make sense. But, like, you know, Robert DeLeo with him, and now Taylor Hawkins. Hendrix over the top. I mean,
yeah,
fire, man. But I do agree Jimmy Page would be awesome as well, considering Jimmy Page sounds just like Dean DeLeo, his brother.
Yeah, no, I know who he is. But and the great thing, like, about someone like Taylor Hawkins, he's played with a Jimmy Page, right?
Yep.
I would imagine if Hendrix was still alive at some point, he would have played with Hendrix.
He may have.
So, you know, you can't go wrong. But yeah, Jimi Hendrix, that way we won't get as many angry comments.
Yeah. So before we get to lead singer, just a recap: we got Taylor Hawkins, Robert DeLeo, Jerry Cantrell, and Jimi Hendrix.
Yep.
This is shaping up for one hell of a concert.
Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying. Now,
I think this
Yeah,
is
buddy.
much better than the last list.
so since you're going to have two, Joel, just give us your two for singer real quick. Since you
You
only
want
got
me?
two.
I thought you were going to go first because you're the singer guy.
No, I'm going last.
Okay.
Well, he did go first the last 2 times.
That's all right. He's got two. He can go first. We don't
All
want to
right.
mess up a good thing.
All right, let's go.
Okay. So when I say the epitome of a front man, who do you think of? It's always going to be Robert Plant.
Freddie Mercury.
No,
I was
Robert
gonna say-
Plant. Of a rock band. I'm not saying Queen. I'm saying rock band.
Queen's not a rock band.
Oh my gosh. Queen is Queen. They are
Led Zeppelin is Led Zeppelin. Pink Floyd is Pink Floyd.
Okay, stop it. Stop
they're-
it. Okay, Robert Plant is who I chose. Damn.
Okay.
And this was a hard one for me because there's so many singers out there. But for whatever reason, again, can they write? Can they sing? Are they a good guy? Do they look like they can get together? The limited exposure we have. And this is a guy that I think that I'll get an approval, at least from one of us. But Chris Cornell, that's who I put on my list. I think as a rock singer, I just think
well,
that I think
he's
we ended,
versatile because he's he did Soundgarden, he did Audio Slave, he did Temple of the Dog, which was solely a way for Jeff Ament and Stone Gossard to get together and showcase their new band. Was basically why Temple of the Dog was formed.
yeah, and help heal the wounds with Andrew Wood's passing. So Chris Cornell, for me, I think this type of band, I think it would be a good fit.
All right.
All right, Fisher, you're up.
Okay. So if we went with one of my guys, maybe two, I would definitely say this is a 90s supergroup, but we'll get to that when we get there. My first guy was another edit made at the beginning of the show, but all this guy does is sing in supergroups. That's all he does. And so I don't know who's more perfect to front a supergroup than this man, Sammy Hagar.
I literally thought that's what you're gonna say when you started. Amazing. Amazing.
The man is in his 70s and looks like he's in his 50s.
And he still sounds amazing. He drinks
Doesn't he?
tequila every day.
I want his
Jeez.
life.
I do too. He lives on a beach, has his own distillery,
Yeah. And
played
all he
with
does-
Van Halen, played with Montrose, played his solo stuff, played with Joe Satriani and Chickenfoot.
Yeah.
I mean, that is true.
All he does is sing in supergroups.
All he
So-
does is wake up in the morning and piss excellence.
That's right. That's right. All right. This next guy, when y'all made the decision to cut out keyboards as a part of the supergroup, this is my way of sneaking the keyboards back in, damn it. And that's Trent Reznor
Okay.
for
Okay.
frontman.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
knew it wasn't going to be super popular but
He's talented.
he didn't get his due in the last list. And this is by no means, I'm making it up, because I think that's what he does. He's a front man and a keyboard player. And you wouldn't be able, I don't think, well, maybe in the way he structures his songs, but because he plays industrial music or whatnot, it would be hard to think that, oh, this guy's a classically trained pianist, and he is. And so that guy, Trent Reznor. And finally, my last guy, this was, if he gets picked, then mine is Jimmy. This is definitely a 90s list. I think there was no better frontman in the 90s than this guy, and that's Michael Stipe.
Oh, wow. Man, you went like really left turn on these.
Yeah, buddy.
No better front man than Michael Stipe
in the 90s.
In the 90s, which includes Sammy Hagar.
That's right.
Sammy Hagar and a host of other ones.
But
Eddie Vedder.
In the 90s.
Yeah.
Cornell,
Chris Cornell, all of them. You're saying Michael Stipe is the best. That's a controversial pick there, sir. Okay. Gurfer, save this segment.
All
please.
Right. Well, we know Chris Cornell is going to be in
Well, here
there.
we go. So I'm going strictly on this first pick, strictly off of vocal talent alone. And I've done this before. My list right here is completely almost the same from the first one, but you can't have a front man without this guy for vocals alone, and that's Steve Perry.
Steve Perry.
Vocally, there's not a whole lot.
Thought we said no more Journey psych outs.
Better out there. I'm just saying, dude. Steve Perry has to be mentioned. All right, next one.
I heard that. That was funny.
Joel and I see eye to eye on Chris Cornell. That's easy. We don't even need to talk about that one anymore. And here's the other one. Here's my way of sneaking in another guitar player.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go with Jeff Buckley.
So this is not a joke. Before you even started your little rant on the last one, I was thinking, you know who would be fun to have in this super group is Jeff Buckley, because no one mentioned him. Oh man.
I mean, so the three that are on my list, Chris, Steve, and Jeff. I think Jeff vocally is a mixture of Steve and Chris.
Yeah, 100%. I could see that.
And I'm gonna off of my list alone.
Yeah.
My foot is being put down on Jeff Buckley.
I'm going to do something I've never done before, and I'm going to add a third vocalist, and I'm going to say Jeff Buckley. I'm going to say Jeff Buckley. I'm going Jeff Buckley.
Whatever.
Yeah. You love him. You know it'd be great with him singing. I know. That's what made me think of it, because I saw right back there. I know.
I'll probably listen to some Jeff Buckley when the show's over.
100%.
Right? But I look at him like Joel looks at Paul McCartney or Neil Peart. Like he is. I mean, it's his name on the record, right?
Yeah.
Jeff Buckley. He's like a Stevie Ray Vaughan.
That's true. But even Stevie Ray played with David Bowie.
Well, yeah, but when you think of Stevie Ray Vaughan, you just think of him. You don't think of the band.
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time, man. I'm Chris Cornell or Jeff Buckley.
God, you're making this so hard. Jeff Buckley specifically, I don't really think that his vocals would fit with the type of band that we have right now.
Okay.
Right. Although of all the people that we have in the band that I know of, they don't hit the high notes quite like this guy right here.
Yeah. And he can play guitar.
Right.
Like Ryan said.
And you're getting an extra guitar player. But I mean, I think Jeff
Foo Fighters have 3 guitar players. So
Yep. It's true.
I think Buckley is. And this statement, I don't know how else to say it, but this is one of those things. We don't really know if he would fit in with them because he died so early. He may have been able to, I don't want to say
you're right. I mean,
I don't know that he would have changed his sound or how he did things.
Oh, I'm sure he would have changed his sound.
But there is a chance that he would have fit in perfectly with these guys. I think he's that versatile and he's that good. But that's just me. But again, and y'all would have thought that I would have put my foot down on Cornell, Chris, but
no,
I don't know, man.
I can, by the way you talk about him and just how many times you mention him, I think, to me anyway, you have more, as a vocalist, more respect for Jeff Buckley than you do Chris Cornell.
Oh, correct. Like the things that Jeff does, nobody else really can do.
Yeah.
And so, but I've always said this, I look up to Jeff Buckley because he's amazing at what he does. If I could choose to sound like anyone, I would choose to sound like Chris Cornell because I, for real, would be a multi-gazillionaire if I did. But
okay, so we've got from you, Joel. Who were the two that you brought? You can't just add someone else.
he added Buckley's on the list officially.
Yeah, well, it's on the list officially, but it's Robert Plant. It's Robert Plant, it's Chris Cornell, and it's Jeff Buckley.
Okay. And then you've got Chris Cornell, Jeff Buckley,
and Steve Perry.
Steve Perry.
No Journey. It's like
for me, it comes down to two. It comes down to Plant, and it comes down to Hagar. For me.
Wow.
So I'll throw a wrench in this whole damn thing and go, if I'm putting my foot down on it, really, since there's not a three-way consensus, I would say I would throw my hat in the ring for Robert Plant. So really, it comes down to the two of you deciding whether it's Chris Cornell or Jeff Buckley. So
I'm good either way.
You know, I say we go. Joel. I say we go Buckley.
All right,
let's do it. It is.
Buckley.
Let's do it. And I do agree with you on that. That's a hard one because he sounds like himself, but there's a part of me that would be really excited just to hear what it sounds like with him doing his thing. So good times, man.
So
Supergroup is
the Supergroup is Taylor Hawkins, Robert DeLeo, Jerry Cantrell, Jimi Hendrix, and Jeff Buckley. For everyone at home keeping score, Christian had
Fisher.
2, 3 people that he brought into the band. I had 1, 2, 3 people that I brought into the band. Joel had 1.5 because we're going to give him a half point on Buckley.
Who was his one?
His one was
DeLeo,
bass player DeLeo.
Yeah, DeLeo. Yeah,
man, that was fun.
I didn't know this was a competition, but next time I'll remember to.
You're gonna step it up.
I'll make it like a Backstreet Boys or an NSYNC.
Life is a competition.
I strongly, for frontman, strongly considered Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, that would be fun. Be different. It'd be different for sure. He's just such a R&B singer, though. You know, such
I was
a pop
gonna say,
singer.
but and that's the thing, is the next time we do this, hopefully it's not a year from now or 2 years from now, because if we really think about it, and we're getting ready to go on 2 years of this thing, and we Supergroup was the first thing we did, and we haven't gone back to it since.
Yep.
So I'd like to revisit it sooner rather than later, and maybe before we put some parameters this time. We bring 3 for each instrument, but maybe next time let's do a funk / R&B supergroup.
Sure.
You could do a 80s rock. You could do a 90s rock, 2000s.
Because we damn near were 90s there.
Yeah, we were
had to
so
throw
close.
Jimmy in there. So close.
So before we move on to featured artist, y'all keep talking. We'll edit. Joel can edit however he wants. I gotta go pee.
Dude, water bottle. That way you just pee right there as your host.
It still has water in it.